Alright folks, so today we're doing a set of BBK shorty headers on the truck. This is everything that's going to come with the kit here. Your two headers, your driver's side, passenger side. Got all the hardware kits you need. You have an optional block off if you want to utilize that. Your exhaust manifold gaskets, and that's the hardware kit there. These are carb legal for California because California doesn't like fun things. And they have a carb sticker as well, which I have set aside for later on. So this is where we're going to go and start on the driver's side. I believe that bolt back there is probably going to be the hardest one to get off. I went ahead and pre-soaked them overnight with some PB Blaster. And I'm going to try my best to heat up the cylinder head with the torch before I get them off. That way hopefully it helps and I don't have any studs broken inside there. I'm going to remove all these plug wires, get them out of the way, and let's hope we don't get broken studs, because that's going to be our biggest hold up in this whole process. And here we have this side here. So like I said, we're going to go and get started from the So what I'm doing here, I'm using a handheld torch. I'm spraying the cylinder head itself on the aluminum. I did this right above every bolt of the exhaust manifold just to heat up the aluminum a little bit. This is going to help you get each of those bolts out for the exhaust manifold a little bit easier. And again, my main thing, I didn't want to break any of these bolts. And doing this technique, I think it helped out quite a bit. All the bolts came out pretty easily. While doing this, you just want to be careful because you don't want to catch your truck or car on fire. Obviously, make a bad day for yourself. As you can see also, I have the plug wires off already here. They pull straight off, very straightforward. I did leave the spark plugs in place to do this, and I didn't run into a single issue. When you're removing the manifolds and installing the headers, just be a little careful around them, just so you don't knock any of them, because you crack one, you get a misfire, it can be troublesome for you. So you see here, I tried a few different extension combinations to get that back bolt there. It was quite a pain to get out. The easiest thing for me, and the thing that ended up working, is I had two 10mm wrenches, which I just flip-flopped back and forth, and I would go about a quarter turn each time I utilized them. It took a while, but that was the easiest thing that worked. So if you get a small wrench in there, maybe it works for you, but that's what worked for me. Alright, so we got this bolt in the back broken loose. Like I said, this one is going to be the hardest one of the day. It took me quite a while to get in there. Tried a lot of different wobble sockets, extensions, things like that. I have some nice, really thin snap-on wrenches. Couldn't get them in there. Best way I was able to do it is trim some of that heat shield back. I just get two 10mm wrenches on there. I did heat up the cylinder head a little bit with the torch, but it was starting to heat up that heat shield as well, so I decided to stop that. But we're doing it like this, and I'm just flipping the wrenches back and forth. It's a real slow process, but it's, like I said, again, it's going to be the hardest one, so it's coming and it's not broken, so I'm happy. That's a good day. So the rest of these I had super easy access to, so I went ahead and heated up all of them just a little bit, and then as I broke them loose, I would heat up that individual one a little bit more, and it was a very smooth process. Like I said, the torch worked great, and here's just a better angle for you of what I'm doing. You can see I'm just getting the cylinder head there. Alright, so here I'm underneath the truck. I'm going to go ahead and lower down that Y pipe to let some of that weight and pressure off the upper manifolds. I got all those bolts up top broken loose on the driver's side manifold, so I'm going to go and use my impact gun to get all these bolts off. I did have an issue with one of them. It didn't want to come off. I think that wobble socket I had on there was eating up some of the torque, so I did end up putting a breaker bar on it, broke it loose pretty easy. Then after that, they're all three able to drop off. I sprayed them with some penetrating oil. It worked pretty good. And same went for the passenger side as well. I just went ahead and used the impact gun on those, and that side came off no issue whatsoever. Alright, so I got the bottom off. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can use my electric ratchet and zap the rest of these off a little bit quicker than that last one. Alright, so we got this side off. Just like that. One of them's out. Alright, so as you can see, it's off here. Alright, so as you can see, we have them in place here. Got the gasket there. I was able to finagle them pretty easily. Just move this, pull this out of the way with your hand. I got one bolt in place, just a couple turns, just enough to hold it. And then anti-seize my bolts, just so it's a little easier next time, hopefully. Looks like the bottom flange is going to line up with the exhaust ground. Pretty normal, it's off just a hair. So from here, we're going to go and install the rest of the 5 bolts into the cylinder head through the manifold. Then we're going to snug them up from the inward bolts in an outward pattern. So from here, this one should be pretty smooth. So let's get going. So as I'm tightening these, I'm going to go from the inside to the outside, and I'm going to tighten them to roughly 18 foot-pounds of torque, which really isn't too much. So first pass, you'll want to go about 11 and just keep it easy. Don't damage these aluminum heads. Keep in mind here, you're going to have a lot more space with your aftermarket headers on here than you did with your factory cast iron manifolds. So it's going to make getting tools in here to tighten these up a lot easier. And again, just make sure you're not going to over torque these bolts into the aluminum cylinder head, because that's going to make a bad day for you. You see I don't have a torque wrench. I've done this before. I kind of know roughly what the torque specs are going to be. I probably should have had one though, so I would highly suggest getting one for yourself. So as you see, we have them in place right now. They look pretty sharp in there. So with these headers, we have to drop our... So here you see the flange bolt. I'm just showing it to you. You're going to go and install that from the bottom. The shorter sides of the threads are going to go up into the header from the bottom, and then you're going to put your washer, lock washer, and nut on from the bottom, going up from the Y pipe. Alright, so I went ahead, I loosened the 2 bolts for the air pipe here. They broke free very easily. I did have them all soaked, as with everything else, in penetrating oil. So I got those loose. I'm going to break loose all the bolts on the manifold itself now. They've been pre-soaked, and I'm going to heat them up just a little bit on the cylinder head and then get those off as well. Alright, so I'm using a little camera mount on my head. Let's see how it works for you guys. No rhyme or reason to really take them off. I'm to order and start right here in the middle. You're going to want to keep in mind when doing this, you are going to have to remove the dipstick as well. I almost forgot. Don't forget. Here's your reminder. It goes back in super easily. Slides out, slides right back in. Alright, so we're going to go and take off the dipstick too, because it's kind of put right in the middle there, in a goofy spot. It's 15 millimeter. Undo that, and this should just pull right on out.
Gasket's trash.
So another thing I noticed on this passenger side is I did end up removing the air pump. It's two 15 millimeter bolts, super easy to access. Remove the bolts and just push it off to the side, just to give me more space to get that manifold out and the new header in. Just like that, straight out. Alright, we're just putting some anti-seize here on all the little bolts for the headers to go right into the cylinder head. You don't need too much, you don't need to overdo it. I just like to make sure my threads are covered and it's not glopped on. That's just plenty right there. There. Alright, so real quick, this is the old manifold right here. You can see it's split all the way around, and it's actually splitting again off these cylinders as well. So we got new ones just in time. And we're going to go ahead and put this on in. We have our new gasket. Let's make sure we have our alignment right. Gonna go just like that. So I'm going to put it there. So and now we'll snake it straight in there, nice and easy. No problems. And look at that, drop straight into the exhaust, and set it down very lightly. I'm gonna grab my gasket, and just like the other side, and do one bolt at a time just to hang it in place. Doesn't matter which one, just one that's nice and easily accessible. It's gonna be this one here. Make sure it goes through the gasket.
There we go. We're in business.
Just like the other side, we're going to zap these in just to snug them up, not tight. We're going to go from the middle. gonna work on there. Alright, now we got the bolts for the air pump again, for the line. These are the BBK supplied bolts. They are a different bolt pattern, so you got to use these for the headers. Again, gonna put just a little bit of anti-seize on there. As well as use the supplied gasket. Alright, just like that, we got the uppers all done. I'm going to get the dipstick back in there now. And we'll put the spark plug wires on. And we'll go down to the bottom and connect the exhaust. And that's a wrap. Hear that snap? That means it's in place. Snap, snap. Alright, so you guys can see this. This is what I had to do. Got a ratchet strap and cross member pulling the exhaust back, the Y pipe. I had to put a jack on the center section in order to get that piece onto the collector, because this piece right here, as you can see, a little 90-degree bend, and this cat have been replaced. So although that looks kind of factory, you can see it's been cut and put in, and it just puts that pipe just a hair off of those exhaust flanges. So I had to battle that to get those to line up. If it weren't for that, this would have gone straight back on, just like the other side, which I'll show you in a second. But right back in there. So now I'm gonna go and tighten these all up. Alright, just like that, we have both sides done. This side was super easy, both from the top, getting all the bolts off the head and dropping it in place here. All three of these lined right up super easily, no issues whatsoever. This side, however, different story. So now we got the Y pipe all bolted up. As you can see all the way down there. Got a MagnaFlow muffler on here. Factory pipes, all my multiple catalytic converters. We'll go ahead and make sure everything's snugged up, get up top and give it a fire up. Alright folks, moment of truth, start her up. Nice and quiet, sounds good. No lights on yet. Doesn't sound like there's any leaks. Looking good. Don't hear any misfires, nothing's leaking again. Good all the way back. I'm happy with that.